As many of you might remember, I did a video for fun called The Gray. And it started off with a guy who appeared to be a little aggravated. And he was taking a walk. And he finds an alien behind some factory buildings. And he puts it in a bucket and brings it home. And he is observed to do this by two military agents, one wearing a George Bush mask.
He took the alien.
And so he gets the Gray home. And the alien is actually alive. And it kills him, and he wakes up a changed man. And now he's a little bit more evil and a little bit more manipulative. And that was as far as I got. I only had 2 episodes. But I want to tell you all what I had planned for this mini-series in case any of you out there may want to do your own episodes or versions of The Gray. Because basically I'm not going to be doing any more episodes. So if any of you guys want to pick that up, then it's all yours. So let me explain where we're going with this film to give you some more ideas. At first you have to make a gray. And short grays have blue skin and are actually a synthetic human clone that are roboticized and then controlled by the aliens. But they are called aliens nonetheless. So what I did was go to the toy store and I found the ugliest baby doll I ever saw. That I painted its eyeballs black. But you could also paint them white. I bought a small Nerf football. I cut that in half and then I duct taped it to its head and then I spray painted the whole thing blue. Then I tried to give it a fleshy appearance by covering it with several layers of rubber cement, but honestly it didn't work that well. And after many layers it still wasn't that thick and it kept on peeling off. So there must be something better than that you could use. And there are many different ways to design something like this. And check out some of the videos people do on making movie props. But this alien prop that I used did not cost more than $20 or $30 to make. And it was pretty easy to do. So once you have your alien prop, I would recommend having your character finding the Gray during a low point in their life. Such as the main character is a drunk who just got kicked out of a bar. And he is stumbling down an alley and finds the thing in a dumpster. Or he's a drug dealer hanging out behind an abandoned building and he finds one in a nuclear waste barrel. Or he just got fired from his job and he is storming down the street kicking over garbage cans and a Gray rolls out. Or they could find it in a swamp or some rural area too. So in any case, it's going to be at a low point in their lives. So how we started our episode of The Gray was to show a man who was extremely angry and he's acting a little bit weird and random people are pissing him off. And what this suggests is someone who is in a low emotional state and subject to demonic alien influences. So in our screenplay, what we had planned out next was that after finding the Gray, the main character was supposed to notice a change. And that is most commonly shown in how the general public now acts around the character. The main character notices that if he talks to people, they begin to appear hypnotized after a second or two and begin to stare at the main character wide-eyed and basically agreeing with everything that he says. Or when once the character had been ignored by everyone, now he is attracting a lot of attention. So maybe in the first scene you could show the character being ignored and disregarded by everyone, such as he cannot get proper service at a diner or a store. Waitresses walk right past him without noticing him and don't bother to look at him when they speak to him. And now everyone is staring deeply into his eyes, fixated on him. Everyone in public is now tripping over themselves to serve him. Girls act giddy, men act impressed. In our episode of The Gray, I show the main character getting attacked and then killed by the Gray, and then coming back as someone who's been basically taken over by this Gray. But you don't have to do it that way. Some people do not have to be tortured and killed to fall under a Gray's influence. Some love the power that the Gray offers them and goes right along with it, which is why people who are extremely low or needy or depraved function best with the aliens. Just basically show that after finding the Gray, the main character begins to realize that they have powers of attraction or control over others that they did not usually have. And of course, this goes right to the heads of some people who are at low points in their lives. So maybe the character is at first ignored at a department store, but after finding the Gray and realizing its power, he walks into the same store, raising his hands high above his head, or stamps his foot, and then from all corners of the store, employees are drawn to him. And this is an idiotic high point in this retard's life, with some dramatic opera music playing in the background as everyone gathers to serve him. Maybe the character begins to realize that he has a new power when he begins to cross the street, for example, and traffic stops patiently from all directions to allow this guy to cross the street. Now yesterday, before he found the Gray, cars would honk at him and would rather run him over before they'd stop to let him cross the street. So this is a big change indeed. Possibly he goes into a store to buy a drink and he hypnotizes the checkout girl who is mesmerized by him. She stares as though she's in love. She doesn't charge him for the bottle, just bags it up, hands it to him, and stares like she is hypnotized. He looks strangely at her. "Well, how much do I owe you?" he asked. "Oh yeah, how did I forget?" She laughs, truly impressed with his greatness. So the first parts of your series should just show the character realizing a change has taken place and begin to enjoy this new power. Next, the character will begin to realize that he or she can control people just by thinking commands that random people follow. And this could start off with a situation here and there and then build up to the point where the character is walking down the street, whispering commands to everyone he sees. He says bow, they bow. Stand on one foot, they stand on one foot. He says laugh, they laugh. Turn around, they turn around. Stop, they stop. Get out of my way, they quickly move out of his way. So he's moving on the street quickly, commanding all these people to do all these things telepathically, and they're doing it. So then the Gray begins to coach the main character, and the Gray has an elfish or swamp creature voice. And let's say the character sees a pretty girl, and he hears the Gray's weird little voice say,
"You want her, don't you?
Yes, he thinks.
Then call her to you."
Come to me, he thinks. And suddenly the girl looks up, she sees him, smiles, and walks over to ask for directions or for the time. She stares at him and then becomes hypnotized. "You want to go out with me?" he thinks. She nods her head yes, while staring with big blue eyes. So he asks her out, and she accepts. So after realizing that he has this power, it isn't before long that it occurs to him that he should try using it to manipulate people for his own gain. And some ideas are, the character hands the gas station attendant a $1 bill and says, "That's a $100 bill." They see a $100 bill. So he or she starts robbing people. If they see someone wearing a necklace that they want, they think, "Give me your necklace." And the person could be busy talking to like a friend, takes off their necklace, polishes it, sets it down, then bends to tie their shoe, and then walks off with their friend, leaving it behind. So it's more like a trick or a subtle manipulation than the person simply taking off the necklace and handing it to the witch. The character can tell people to drop their wallets, forget their purses, leave their cars unlocked and running, leave their ATM cards in the ATM machine awaiting more transactions. So the main character essentially starts committing a series of crimes while using this power. So in our series, the next feat for the gray possessed main character was for him to form his own little coven. In other words, he wanted a group of people around him that he was in charge of, so this group could begin running bigger scams on people. So he first sees a tough, larger guy and thinks that he may need this guy as the muscle. So the gray coaches him on how to place the muscle under mind control. So let's call the main character the head witch. So the head witch follows the muscle to his house and then does a spell on the guy. So we're going to use a special effect called earthquake that produces a vibration effect in the camera shots. And then we would have the head witch begin driving past the muscle's house at night while this vibration effect is used. We could play some weird chanting music or have the main character chant,
"Come to me, come to me,"
along with some disturbing audio effects while the head witch drives in circles around the muscle's house. Now inside, the muscle begins to act strange. He starts seeing things, he starts hearing things, and he cannot keep his balance, all the while this vibration effect is being used, which is symbolic of an energy weapon that allows these alien implants to get inside the target. And that is how the witch controls people. So it's actually an alien technology that produces this mind control effect over others. The witch isn't doing anything. It's the aliens that do everything. The witches are just taught how to use this alien technology to hurt and take advantage of others. But witches do all sorts of perverted things that they consider spells to get their targets to do something. And this includes, for example, leaving something around for the target to find and pick up that once belonged to the witch or another victim. For example, a scarf, a hat, a piece of jewelry. If the target picks this up, the witch considers that a connection has been formed between them and their target. The witch will also throw something on the target's mailbox or front door so they'll have to touch it. So let's just say this is a witch's brew and it consists of rum, dead insects, and spit. You could also have them mixing this up and then throwing this on the target's house. And again, it's a spell that connects the witch to the target. But none of this actually does anything without the alien manipulation and these energy devices being used. But basically the aliens guide witches to stalk the target, doing all sorts of weird, perverted things that A, screw with the target's head, and B, allow the demons inside the witch to also infect the target. So the alien technology produces a connection between the witch and a target, and it's not the witch's brew or any of their other superstitions. So back to the head witch going after the man that we call the muscle. So after this spell is placed on the muscle and his house is hit by the alien energy, the muscle eventually goes to the place where the head witch is waiting for him. And the muscle walks up in a very clouded mental state, and he is confused and sits down on a park bench right beside the head witch, and he starts talking, complaining that he was supposed to go work today, but he overslept and got fired. So the head witch asks if the muscle wants to do a job with him. So after getting shown the ropes of scamming people using mind control, the muscle has a few ideas of his own, which involve more aggressive plans. Maybe the muscle wants to rob a couple of the drug dealers, and he has no problem getting violent to do this. In other words, he brings his own ideas and powers into the ring.